Let's talk about the one thing that holds most people back from, well, everything they want. And here's a hint. It has absolutely nothing to do with your calendar. See, the real problem isn't a lack of time. It's a lack of being brutally honest with yourself about what actually needs to get done.
We've all said it, right? I just don't have enough time. It's our go-to excuse for everything. But that is probably the biggest lie we tell ourselves. The reality is, most people do not have a time problem.
No, they have a truth problem. You already know what you need to do. You've known for months, maybe even for years. You're just waiting. You're waiting for this perfect, motivated version of yourself that, spoiler alert, is never gonna just show up on its own.
Okay, so here's the part nobody really wants to say out loud. 60 days. That's it. Now, it's not enough time to become perfect, not enough time to have it all figured out, but it is more than enough time to become unrecognizable from the person you are right now.
Think about that person who's been almost starting for the last 3 years. They didn't lack talent. They didn't lack time. What they lacked was the courage to look a little bit stupid while getting better. And so they waited, and they waited, and they gave it a very productive sounding name: planning.
So, this brings us to our first hard truth, and it's all about the massive difference between performance and actual progress. We get so caught up in the illusion of getting things done that we forget to, actually get things done. And this right here, this is our favorite flavor of procrastination, isn't it? Every course you saved, every single YouTube video you bookmarked, that brand new journal you bought that's still empty, none of that was growth. It was a performance. You were performing the idea of change so you didn't have to face the discomfort of actual change. Real progress, it's just one thing: doing the work.
I mean, really let this sink in. 60 days of actually doing something will teach you infinitely more than 6 years of just consuming information about it. Experience is the only teacher that creates real, lasting change. All right, let's dive into the second truth. And fair warning, this one kind of stings. It's about your timeline and the fact that it's borrowed. See, you think you have time because nothing catastrophic has happened yet. You tell yourself, I'll start when life gets less busy. But let's be real. When does life ever get less busy? It doesn't. It just gets louder, it gets heavier. The person who decides to start today is already way ahead of the person you'll be in 6 months if you just keep waiting. And look, this isn't some feel-good motivational speech. This is just math, cold, hard math. Every single day that you wait, that gap gets wider. It's simple arithmetic. It is completely unavoidable. Which leads us to our third truth. And this is usually the one that's the hardest for people to hear. The real problem isn't out there. It's not about finding more information. The problem is an internal wall. You do not need another tutorial. You don't need a better program. You certainly do not need more information. What you need to do is you need to stop negotiating with the weakest version of yourself every single morning. That is the real fight. Because that wall you keep slamming into, it's not a lack of discipline. It's not a lack of motivation. It's your identity. I mean, of course, 60 days feels like an eternity to someone who's never stuck with anything past day 4. You haven't built the identity of someone who finishes things. So, okay, how do we break through that wall? Well, this is the shift. It's a really simple idea, actually. You need to stop trying to build habits and start trying to cast votes. It is all about building evidence. Every single time you show up, especially when you don't feel like it, even if you do it badly, you are casting a vote for the person you want to become. Just repeat that simple process, and over time, your identity itself begins to change. Think about it this way. You dragged yourself to the gym. You had an absolutely terrible workout. Who cares? It doesn't matter. You still showed up. Boom. Vote cast. You just voted for being a person who works out. And it's the exact same for any skill. You sat down and you wrote one single awful paragraph. So what? You showed up. That's another vote for being a writer. The quality of the work in that moment is way less important than the consistency of the action. When you cast enough of these votes, something fundamental shifts. Your identity changes. You stop fighting with yourself to take action. You just do the thing. Why? Because that's who you are now. It becomes automatic. Okay, so this brings us to the end, to the final slap in the face. It all boils down to a choice. And it's a choice you're making right now. The next 60 days are going to result in one of two things. You are either going to have proof of your progress, or you are going to have another excuse. That's it. 5 years from now, you won't remember what you were doing today, but you will absolutely remember whether you finally started or whether you just nodded along and went right back to scrolling.
And that's the bottom line. The clock is already running. It has been this whole time. So the only real question left to answer is, are you?
If this hit different for you, seriously, save it. Watch it again on those days you really want to quit. And if you are serious about making the next 60 days count, our next explainer is going to show you exactly where to start.